AITA for exposing my sister after learning she stole my $1 million house at a family dinner? Kayla, answer me. Why is an elderly couple I do not recognize living in the $1 million lakeside house I bought for you? Her words instantly froze the lively Thanksgiving table. A sharp hollow clatter rang out. Across from me, my father, Richard, had dropped his knife onto his plate. My hand stopped halfway to my mouth, a piece of pumpkin pie still on my fork, and I slowly looked up. My grandmother Vivian's gaze cut right through me, landing on my sister Brielle, who sat rigidly beside me, and then on our parents. Having just returned from living abroad for several years, my grandmother seemed much stricter than before, wrapped in an aura that kept anyone from approaching her casually. Grandma, what did you just say? My voice trembled. The words sounded too surreal for someone like me, who could barely scrape together money for today's lunch. Did you not hear me, Kayla? I am talking about the lakeside vacation house. The one I bought for your future 3 years ago. Her voice was calm, but underneath I could feel something like boiling magma. Grandma, is there not some mistake? I gathered all my courage as I spoke. My heart was pounding. I do not have a house or a vacation home, or even my own apartment. I am practically homeless right now. I was evicted from my apartment last month and have been staying with friends ever since. What? My grandmother's brow furrowed. I knew something was wrong. As soon as I got back, I went to check on the place as a surprise. You were not there. Instead, an elderly couple I had never seen before answered the door. They said they were the parents of Trevor, Brielle's husband. Brielle, could you please explain what is going on? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my sister Brielle's trembling hand as she held her wine glass. Brielle. I turned to face her. Her eyes darted around frantically, her breathing shallow. Grandma! Brielle cried out, almost shouting. That must be some kind of mistake. Maybe you got the address wrong. There are lots of similar houses around there and you just got back. You must be exhausted. That is right, Mom. My mother, Cynthia, jumped in. Beads of sweat dotted her forehead. It is just the jet lag. Your memory is muddled. Come on, the turkey is getting cold. Be quiet. My grandmother's shout cut through my mother's words like a physical blow. Despite her age, her voice was so powerful that everyone at the table flinched. My mind is not failing me yet. The address, the exterior, it was exactly the house I signed the contract for. And what is more, my grandmother reached into her purse, pulled out a photograph and slid it across the table. This is what Trevor's parents told me. They live in that house, and they said they were staying at the home of their son's wife, Brielle. As she spoke those words, Brielle's face turned completely white. The photo showed a beautiful lakeside mansion, and standing in front of it, smiling for the camera, were Brielle, her husband Trevor, and his parents. We should ask for an explanation of this photo. Faced with irrefutable evidence, the air in the room grew thick and heavy. I stared at the picture, doubting my own eyes. It was the same place Brielle had posted on social media with the hashtag #MyNewVacationHome, right when I was exhausting myself juggling 3 part-time jobs. That was my house. What was happening? I stood up. Mom, Dad, what does this mean? Grandma bought me a house. So why am I living like I am homeless? At my question, my father awkwardly looked away. Kayla, it is complicated. Today is Thanksgiving. Talking about money at a family dinner is not really appropriate, is it? We can sit down in my study tomorrow and discuss this calmly. My grandmother cut him off coldly. No, we are clearing everything up right here, right now. Kayla, do you truly know nothing about the $1 million vacation house I gifted you 3 years ago, and how it has been used? $1 million. The room started to spin. My bank account balance when I checked it this morning was $12.50. Working 3 jobs, sacrificing sleep, only to see it all vanish into student loan payments and living expenses. $1 million was a figure I could not even fathom. I do not know anything. I have never seen a vacation house, and I have never been told that anyone bought one for me. At my words, my grandmother's expression softened slightly. A flicker of pity crossed her face, but it vanished just as quickly. It was replaced by a hard glare as she turned to my parents. Richard, Cynthia, you told me, did you not? That Kayla is mentally unstable and incapable of managing a large sum of money. That until she becomes independent, You would act as her guardians and manage that vacation house on her behalf. What? I could not believe my ears. Wait a minute, Mom, Dad. When did I ever have mental problems? I graduated at the top of my class and I have worked diligently ever since. I have never caused you a single problem. Kayla, calm down, my mother said in a low voice. There was no concern in her eyes, only a warning. Do not say anything unnecessary. You are getting agitated. See, this is exactly what I mean by unstable. Don't you dare. I jumped to my feet. My chair toppled over behind me with a loud crash. I am perfectly normal. You are the ones who are sick. When I could not pay my rent, you told me I was not trying hard enough and that I needed to be independent, right? And yet, behind my back, you handed a house in my name over to Brielle. Kayla, how dare you speak to your parents like that? My father yelled, slamming his fist on the table. We did it for your own good. You do not have the ability to manage assets, so we entrusted it to Brielle. For my own good. The absurdity of it all left me so stunned I could not even cry. Just shut up, Brielle snapped. A plain, boring woman like you does not deserve such a nice house. We were just putting it to good use. You should be thanking us. Brielle, my vision blurred with frustration. My entire body trembled with rage. Is this family? Is this what people bound by blood do to each other? That is enough. My grandmother's voice cut sharply through the sea of shouting. She rose slowly, leaning on her cane, and walked over to me. Then she placed her hand gently on my shaking shoulder. Kayla is right. All of you are rotten, completely rotten to the core. Mom, that is going too far, my father said, his face contorted. We did everything for the good of the family. My grandmother looked at him coldly. There is no family here, only hyenas who have fed on their own granddaughter's property. Tonight, everything will be settled. She pulled a smartphone from her pocket and hit a speed dial number. Come in, please. Yes, right now. The front door opened, letting in a gust of cold night air along with a man. It was Mr. Langston, my grandmother's personal attorney. He was carrying a thick briefcase. Mrs. Whitman, I have brought all the documents as instructed, Attorney Langston said in a professional tone, placing a large stack of papers on the table. What is all this? My father staggered back a step. Richard, Cynthia, and Brielle, my grandmother declared. I will now go over every fraudulent act you have committed page by page. Do not think for a second that you can escape. I wiped away my tears and lifted my head. The warmth of my grandmother's hand gave me strength. That is right. This was no time for crying. I had a duty to make them face the consequences they deserved. In the dead silence of the room, my own small laugh echoed. I rose slowly, shedding the mask of a frightened victim I had worn until then. Pretending to dab at my tears with my napkin, I looked at my family with cold, merciless eyes. That is enough of the act, Grandma. Yes, of course, Kayla. I have had a wonderful time, my grandmother replied, striding confidently to my side, her cane thudding against the floor. My father, mother, and Brielle were speechless at our sudden transformation. Kayla, why are you laughing? My mother asked, her voice trembling. Do you not see? I said coolly. I continued without mercy. A week ago, my grandmother contacted me. Not through you, but through my aunt. She said that it seemed the family had been intercepting my letters and deliberately isolating me. From that moment, we knew everything. And that is why we set the stage for tonight, this supposed Thanksgiving dinner. We were waiting for the moment you would let your guard down and confess to your crimes in your own words. What? You set us up. My father turned pale and tried to stand. Sit down. A single word from my grandmother rooted him to his chair. This is not over. In fact, it is just beginning. Mr. Langston, please let us start with the forged gift agreement. The handwriting analysis is complete. Attorney Langston slid a document to the center of the table. It was a real estate record. This property, Lakeside Manor, was originally purchased by Mrs. Whitman in Kayla Whitman's name. However, the current registered owner is Brielle Dawson, her younger sister. The date of transfer is October 15th, 3 years ago. The sale price was $1. In essence, a gift. That was the price of my life. I stared at the date. October 3 years ago. Just when I graduated from college and was starting to be crushed by student loan payments and living expenses. The moment my life began to derail. I always thought something was wrong, I said quietly. I graduated at the top of my class. I had recommendations from professors and made it to the final interviews at several major companies. And yet, somehow, they all rejected me without explanation. I fixed my gaze on my father. His eyes darted away. Around that time, anonymous emails were sent to the HR departments of the companies I was about to join. Emails claiming that Kayla Whitman suffered from a serious mental health condition and was a troublemaker in college. What are you talking about? He tried to play dumb. IP addresses do not lie, Dad. The emails were sent from this house, and the timestamps match the hours you were in your study. You purposely forced me into unemployment, did you not? Because if I became independent, you could not keep committing fraud using my name. It was not for my own good. And you, Mom, I said, turning to my mother. I finally understand why, no matter how hard I worked, I never saved any money, and why I kept failing my credit card applications. Attorney Langston presented me with a set of bank statements. This is the account Kayla used to pay her student loans. She deposited money every month from her part-time jobs. However, the funds were automatically redirected, not to the loan company, but to a hidden account in Mrs. Whitman's name. No, my mother cried out. And yet, Mom, you kept telling me I was not trying hard enough, that I should be more like Brielle. Because of you, I was blacklisted as a delinquent borrower. I could not even rent a decent apartment. You ruined my credit. You forced me to juggle 3 jobs and still live in fear of ending up on the street. My mother covered her mouth with trembling hands. My poverty was not bad luck. It was not a lack of effort. It was a cage, carefully and deliberately built by my own parents. And you, Brielle? I turned to my sister. She glared back as if she were the victim. Trevor's parents are living in the vacation house, are they not? So what if they are? Brielle replied, lifting her chin. Trevor's parents retired and wanted a quiet place to live, so I let them stay there. What is wrong with that? It is better than leaving the place empty. You let them stay? I raised an eyebrow. For free. Of course they are family. Do not lie. I gave a nod to Attorney Langston. Without a word, he produced the next document. These are the deposit records from a bank account in Brielle Dawson's name. Attorney Langston read calmly. On the 1st of every month, $5,000 is transferred from Trevor Dawson's parents' account. The stated purpose of the transfer is rent. My grandmother spoke first. Brielle, so you not only stole Kayla's house, but you also used it to collect rent from your own in-laws. No, that is not it. Brielle shrieked. It was a maintenance fee. It is a huge house. Costs money to keep it up. And Trevor's parents are rich anyway. $5,000 a month is nothing to them. That is not the point, I said, my voice low but firm. You took my house without permission and made $5,000 a month from it. Meanwhile, I, the rightful owner, could barely afford to eat for the day. Did you know that? Brielle's gaze shifted away. Now hold on. My father leaned forward, trying to intervene. Yes, maybe we were a little rough, but look at the result. The house is well maintained, and Brielle's in-laws are happy. Is this not much better for the family than letting Kayla live there all alone? We can always give her some money later. A severance payment. No, a consolation payment and settle this. A consolation payment, my grandmother repeated quietly. The stem of the wine glass she held made a threatening creaking sound. When my granddaughter was on the verge of sleeping on the street, you were living in luxury on her property, and now you think you can fix it with some consolation money? But Mom, Kayla is still young. Hardship builds character, does it not? Shut up. My grandmother's roar echoed through the room. I wrote to Kayla every month. I asked, how is the house? Are you having any trouble? But I never received a single reply. Instead, Richard, you told me over and over that Kayla is so mentally unstable she cannot even write a thank you note. I shook my head. Not a single letter ever reached me. Of course not, my grandmother said coldly, turning to my parents. Every letter I sent was addressed to this house. You claimed Kayla had mental health issues and that you would hold them for her, and you never gave me her real address. You destroyed my letters and cut off all contact for Kayla as well, did you not? That is because, my mother cried, you seem so busy with work overseas. The reason my grandmother and I could not stay in touch was no longer a mystery. It was the physical distance and the malicious wall my parents had built between us. It all finally clicked, revealing the ugliness of what they had done. Enough with the excuses, I said, taking a deep breath and signaling to Attorney Langston. Let us confirm the facts from a legal standpoint. Attorney Langston displayed the supposed transfer agreement on his tablet, the one Brielle used as the basis for her ownership claim. Ms. Dawson, you previously stated that this document represents a legitimate transfer from Kayla 3 years ago. Correct. Yes, just look at the date, Brielle yelled, drenched in sweat. Yes, so it says. We will discuss the handwriting shortly, but first, we conducted a digital forensic analysis of the paper itself. He pressed a button, and a magnified image of the document appeared. A pattern of tiny, imperceptible dots emerged from under the paper fibers. This is a machine identification code. Many color laser printers embed yellow microdots that record the printer's serial number, as well as the date and time of printing. What? Brielle's jaw dropped. After analyzing these dots, we determined that this document was printed exactly 6 months ago. How strange, I said with a cold smile. Why would a contract supposedly signed 3 years ago be written on paper that was printed only 6 months ago? I then spoke slowly and clearly. In other words, this document was fabricated 6 months ago. I looked at my father, my mother, and finally at Brielle. And I can guess why you suddenly had to forge it 6 months ago. My father's face went ashen. 6 months ago, my grandmother contacted you and said, my work is finally stabilizing. I might be coming home soon. No, I continued. You panicked. Until then, you had been illegally occupying Kayla's house and treating it as Brielle's, based only on verbal promises. But once Grandma returned and checked the property records, your lies would be exposed. So you hastily forged documents to protect yourselves legally. That is not true. But if you had asked me to sign it, you would have been found out. So Brielle copied my handwriting and forged the signature, backdating it by 3 years. Not true. Ugh. My father clutched his head and groaned. I had hit the nail on the head. For 3 years they had done as they pleased, counting on my grandmother not to return. But as soon as they learned she might be coming back, they panicked and rushed to create evidence. That panic was what led to their fatal mistake. Attorney Langston pressed on mercilessly. According to the handwriting analysis, this signature matches that of Ms. Brielle Dawson with 99% probability. This constitutes a clear forgery of a private document. Furthermore, Ms. Dawson falsely claimed to be Kayla's legal guardian and withdrew $1 million from her account under the pretext of covering the vacation house's maintenance costs. That constitutes fraud and embezzlement. Fraud. Brielle began to tremble uncontrollably. Jail, this cannot be real. Dad, say something. You said it would be fine as long as we backdated it. You idiot. Shut your mouth. My father screamed, but it was too late. The police have already been notified, Attorney Langston said calmly. Ms. Dawson, criminal charges will be filed against you immediately. No, no, no. Brielle clutched her head and burst into tears. Dad told me to do it, she sobbed. He said, Kayla is stupid. She will never figure it out. He told me, just copy her signature. I only did what I was told. What? Brielle, are you betraying your own father? My father roared. But it is the truth. Mom said so too. She laughed and said, Kayla cannot ever pay off her student loans anyway, so we might as well invest the money in something good. Brielle, don't you say another word, my mother shrieked, lunging at her. It was horribly ugly. The same people who had been preaching about family bonds and love just moments ago were now hurling accusations, desperately trying to shift the blame. My grandmother watched the spectacle with cold eyes and spoke in a low voice. That is enough. At her words, the screaming stopped dead. I have seen enough of your ugliness. Do not tarnish this table any further. She turned to Attorney Langston. Mr. Langston, the revision of my will is complete, correct? Yes, Mrs. Whitman. Attorney Langston presented a new set of documents. This is the most recent last will and testament. It completely revokes the inheritance rights of Richard Whitman, Cynthia Whitman, and Brielle Dawson, as well as Brielle Dawson's spouse, and designates Miss Kayla Whitman as the sole heir to the entire estate. The entire estate? My parents yelled in unison. Mom, wait, please. Anything but that. We are sorry. We have reflected on our actions. Please. There was no trace of pride left, just a man desperately clinging to money. My mother did the same. I am sorry, Mom. I had a moment of weakness. I will not do it again. Please think twice. From on high, my grandmother replied in a voice of ice. If you want to apologize, do it to Kayla. She is the victim, not me. My parents and Brielle all looked at me at once, pleading, fawning, and deep down, with the same presumption that we were family, so I would forgive them. I slowly raised my wine glass and took a sip. Then I smiled sweetly. No, I have no mercy. The only thing I have for you is a bill. I accepted the final document from Attorney Langston. This is a lawsuit for the restitution of unjust enrichment for the past 3 years, along with compensation for damages. The total amount due comes to $2 million. If payment is not made by tomorrow, criminal proceedings will be initiated immediately. $2 million, my father screamed. We could never have that kind of money. Then sell what you have, I said coldly. Your house, your cars, your jewelry. And that house where Trevor's parents are living, you will vacate it. Immediately. No. Brielle collapsed to the floor. Kicking out Trevor's parents? If I do that, he will divorce me. Not my concern. That is your problem, Brielle. I cut her off coolly. When I lost my job and my credit was ruined, did any of you care about me? No. You all scoffed at me. Now it is your turn to suffer that same misery. Just then there was a loud knock at the dining room door, and 2 officers with sheriff's badges entered. Brielle Dawson, please come with us to the station. No. Help me. I did not do anything wrong. Brielle screamed as she was led away. Then my parents, still in shock, were also handcuffed. Kayla, I am sorry, Kayla. My mother sobbed, looking at me with tear-filled eyes. I was wrong. Please drop the charges. Goodbye, Mom, I said, not looking away. Count the wrinkles on your face in prison. You will have plenty of time. As the police sirens faded into the distance, only my grandmother, Attorney Langston, and I remained in the spacious dining room. I let out a long breath. It was not weariness. It was relief, as if a curse had finally been lifted. It is over, Grandma. Yes, it is over, she said gently, pulling me into a hug. No, actually, that is not quite right. This is where your real life begins. A year has passed since that night. I am now standing on the wooden deck of Lakeside Manor. This place is truly my own. Brielle, her husband, and his parents were forcibly evicted within 72 hours. Her in-laws claimed they had been told the house belonged to their daughter-in-law, and that they were victims too. However, since they lived there knowing the rent was suspiciously low and the contract was flawed, they were questioned as potential accomplices. Brielle was sentenced to 3 years in prison, and is currently serving her time. She divorced Trevor and was left bankrupt by the damages and legal fees. My parents lost all social credibility and were completely shunned by our relatives. My father's company went bankrupt, and I understand they now live in a small apartment, but I do not even have their contact information, nor do I want it. As for me, I started a new business in this quiet home. Online consulting, financial planning, and victim support. When I began sharing my own harrowing experiences, the response was overwhelming. Before I knew it, my schedule was booked solid for months in advance, and my income multiplied tenfold compared to when I was juggling 3 jobs. I no longer depend on anyone. I have achieved complete financial independence. On weekends, my grandmother comes to visit, and we sit by the fireplace, chatting and laughing as if we are reclaiming the 3 years that were stolen from us. One day, as she calmly gazed at the lake, she told me, "You did not just get back the future that was taken from you. With integrity and courage, you built an even brighter one. This is my home, the place I protect, the place I love." I am happy, Grandma, I said from the bottom of my heart. Comment. I wanted to share this story because it touches on something deeply personal for many of us. It reminds us that our self-worth is not determined by how others treat us, especially when that treatment is unfair. Learning to set firm boundaries is one of the greatest acts of self-love you can practice. It can be incredibly painful to draw that line, especially with those you are supposed to trust most. But you are not responsible for fixing those who broke your trust. You are, however, responsible for your own healing and for building a life where you feel safe. Sometimes choosing peace means choosing to walk away from chaos, no matter its source. Always remember to extend the same kindness and protection to yourself that you so freely give to others. Your future is a blank page, and you hold the pen to write a new story of strength and serenity. You deserve a life filled with respect and genuine happiness. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.